I'm going to break down a game here. I'm not breaking it down a whole lot because it doesn't really need to be broken down a whole lot. But I'm going to break this one down. I don't know what you're doing Saturday night, prime time, 8 o'clock Eastern time, but if you want to check out just something that should carry with it a TVMA rating, check out Alabama as a 28.5-point favorite, number steadily climbing, on the road at LSU. Why break this game down? What in the world are we doing? Well, we're not going to break it down in the classical sense, but I just think it's important to document for future civilizations. When they come over here and they're looking at what used to be the SEC, and they're doing research here like we do in Egypt. They're just, well, look at what this culture once had. Well, I want them to know why. I want them to have the answers to the questions, because I can guarantee you a lot of folks are going to be asking, how in the world did a national champion from one year end up being a 4+ touchdown underdog at home? Why in the world, even as this huge favorite, could you see foam coming out of the mouth of this team in crimson? And probably most importantly, how did RTWFU become an acronym? And for those of you who know what it stands for, you understand. And for those of you who don't know what it stands for, let me say it slowly and you can probably figure it out. RTWFU. The last two are easy. The first two are probably pretty easy. And if you don't understand the rest, just look up Ed Orgeron locker room postgame from last year. This has been my favorite rivalry in college football for over a decade now. I have thought over the past decade to decade and a half, this has been the most important game in college football. It's had an impact, one way or the other, on the national championship picture like every single year they've played it. There have been some classic finishes here. I mean, there have been situations where Alabama, in the midst of probably the greatest dynasty run in the history of the sport, they've just been fractions better than LSU in several years that they went on to win a championship. I mean, it's been very competitive. This year, probably not that. And these are two very proud, rabid fan bases. I actually wanted to pull something up for you. The LSU fan base, I mean, I've been down there when they've played Alabama. That place, you give them any reason to believe, and they'll be full throat. Obviously, you'd have a full stadium most of the time. They'll be full throat, and they'll be into it. I want you to keep that in mind as I read you what I'm about to read you. So Shea Dixon, or Sonny rather, Sonny Ship over on Go247, he put up an article earlier today, and he was talking about how Alabama's a 4+ touchdown favorite on the road at Tiger Stadium. Now, here's what you would typically get from LSU folks. You would typically get us against the world, massive crimson chip on our shoulder. We can easily take the points. No one's walking into Tiger Stadium and doing that to us. Not only will we cover, I think if things fall this way and that way, we can get them into the fourth quarter and get our teeth around the throat a little bit, drag them out in the deep water. We could beat them. Like, that could happen. That would be the typical LSU mentality. Instead, I'm just going to scroll down the message board here, and I'm going to read you some reactions. I'm on this board quite a bit. In fact, I'll probably be on there later tonight after the show to deal with whatever they say about me. And so these are the reactions from LSU fans, genuine LSU fans, about Sonny's article about how Bama's a 4+ touchdown favorite. This will be a bloodletting. Lay the points, trust me. I never thought I would have seen a 4-touchdown spread in an LSU-Bama game, and yet here it is after the national title. We will lose by every bit of 40 points. I think it'll be closer to 50 than 40. The line is up to 28.5. I'm laying it all day. I've never bet against our boys before, but this line may be free money. It's going to be scary. It's going to be real ugly. These in a line, just in a row. I'm just scrolling. These are random responses from LSU fans. Just to give you an idea of what the expectation is here. So here's the breakdown. It's going to take like 30 seconds. LSU is good enough in the secondary to limit teams, obviously, like Texas A&M. They're not good enough in the secondary, although there will be some good future Sunday-on-Sunday matchups here. Like Stingley versus Smith. Devontae Smith easily got the better of that matchup last year. If you see that this year, good matchup. I lean Devontae Smith on that one. They're not good enough to limit Alabama through 4 quarters, obviously, though. Alabama's depth on defense and talent on defense, capable of doing everything to LSU that Texas A&M did last week. And so what I'm saying is we could be looking at a name-the-score situation. Now, before I give you just kind of an overall feel about why I'm talking about this game in general, Colin, let's go ahead and show the capsule. Just for fun, the capsule on this game is the Vegas opinion based on our opinion and compared to our opinion. The Vegas number right here is 28.5. Okay, Alabama minus 28.5. I don't know how to factor in for what's in play in this game in our model. We like Alabama over 30, so it's 32.5. We got Bama minus 32.5. I'm not sure there's a restrictor plate factor in this game. If you've watched Bama, and most of you have, it's the number one team in the country or close to it every year, you know there's this restrictor plate mentality with Nick Saban. It was on display last week against Auburn. Once they realize that the other team cannot contain them and cannot control them, it's like, it's the same deal where you put a restrictor plate in a race car to keep it from going 245 miles an hour. Well, Nick Saban puts that on his own team. And so last week, Bama could have scored 42, they could have scored 52, 62. They just dialed it in, put Bryce Young in, don't let him throw a pass, and it is what it is. Get out of there unscathed. We'll move on to the next week. I cannot overstate to you enough how big a deal this game is for Alabama, how badly behind the scenes they fought to play this game, how in some cases a little bit resistant LSU has been to play this game, just to be honest with you. You may think that's weird, but if you were around this game last year and you understood the behind the scenes things, and some publicly, some of the things that were happening, some of the things that were being said last year, a lot of the elements that typically wouldn't be present in the motivation factors for an Alabama team, they're present. And what I'm telling you is, I'm not sure the restrictor plate's on in this particular game, in this particular week. Could be a one-off type situation. But if Nick Saban does not turn off the water spigot like he normally does, there is no limit to how badly this will look. There is no limit to how ugly this can get. Because there's going to be a point in this game where they're able to name the score. And if they want to, they can totally bleed LSU dry. And I think they're going to opt to do it on national TV, in primetime, no less, in Tiger Stadium. So I'm telling you, I haven't put it on our graphic yet, but I'm going to tell you this. We're going to take Alabama to win. We are going to take them to cover the 28.5. That's going to be one of our best bets of the week. It's at 28.5 right now. In fact, we may end up moving on that tonight because I think it's going to go over 30, to be honest with you. So you might as well consider that having been placed on the last graphic that Colin's going to show you later. But I like Alabama to win, and I like it to be very, very unfamiliar looking. To those of you who normally watch Bama, I think they're going to stretch that thing a lot harder and a lot further than they normally do in games like that.